Hello there everyone, Aiden here from Push Square, and today I'm going to break down my most played games on PlayStation. Now this is covering the PS4 and 5 era, using the PS5's game tracker, not the most accurate thing in the world, but it definitely gives us some idea. So across the last two generations of PlayStation, what games have been the ones that stood out to me and I have played the most of? There's going to be some controversial picks in here. I've got a list of 23 games, with my criteria really being they have to be over 100 hours. So let's get into it. I do want to very briefly mention a game called The Finals, which I absolutely love. I've talked about it on the channel before. I just want to give it a little shout out because it just missed the cut. It's sitting at 97 hours currently on the PlayStation 5 game tracker. You know, another week maybe I could have had it here, but alas, I wanted to mention it. But our first true number one, bang on 100 hours, Elden Ring. A very surprising game to be here. I've never been a big Souls guy, in all honesty. I remember my first exposure to the series was Dark Souls 2, and I discovered that game by typing into the internet games where you fight big monsters. That is literally like, I knew I wanted that, and that's all I really knew. I played Dark Souls 2, which had just happened to come out, and I kind of hated it. I just did not get on with the game at all. I found it really tough to understand what I was supposed to do. I don't even think I made it out of the opening area, and that was over 30 hours of like gameplay. A little embarrassing, but yeah, that was a big surprise to see that here. But Elden Ring in itself is just the game from Software that finally clicked with me, and I utterly adore that game. So next up we've got Battlefield 1. It's not going to be the last Battlefield game in here, let me tell you. Battlefield 1, interestingly though, out of the last, couple of generations of Battlefield games, is probably my least favourite. I felt it was the most like playing it safe Battlefield. It didn't have as many of those like classic Battlefield moments, but clearly something clicked with me enough to spend 100 hours in this game. So yeah, Battlefield 1, good on you. Next up, I have to say I was not expecting this to be here at all. I don't remember spending this much time with the game either, and that game is Batman Arkham Knight with 103 hours. I remember playing Arkham City quite extensively, same goes with Arkham Asylum. Arkham Knight I did enjoy, I do remember playing it. I don't remember playing it 103 hours worth though. That surely is like, you're playing the campaign more than once, you're really going for everything. As you may know, I'm not a big, I don't have an extensive platinum trophy cabinet, and this game's certainly not a part of it either. I do maybe remember playing some of the was there DLC or like other characters or so. I can't even remember, honestly. It's been so long since I last played this game. But yeah, 103 hours for Arkham Knight is very surprising. Next up we've got Uncharted Legacy of Thieves. Now this on the PlayStation has replaced what I believe would have been Uncharted 4. So this is mainly Uncharted 4 with a little bit of the other one. What's it called? Why am I forgetting this? Lost Legacy, jeez oh. Anyway, Uncharted 4, I adore this game. I played it through a number of times. I am just one trophy shy of the platinum, but it's just, it was too heartbreaking to really go back to it. I have a total of 106 hours with this, which honestly I think was almost entirely Uncharted 4. It is such a replayable game. It's just so much fun. It's the best in the series in my opinion. It looks incredible, the gunplay feels great, and yeah, now with the Legacy of Thieves version you have smoother frame rates. I told you it wasn't going to be the last, and here we have it, Battlefield 2042, a really controversial pick within the Battlefield series. This one with 108 hours. It's one that I primarily play with my brother. We go back to it every now and again, and it is fun. And I do think it has some of those like cool Battlefield moments that I said I felt like one was missing, but it generally does it does something not quite there. It looks nice, it runs well. I think the shooting feels nice. It was a little bit different from, I'd say possibly even slightly less arcadey than what we got with Battlefield 1. But overall, a game that has dug itself out of the gutter. It turned out to be a game that a lot of people now really enjoy. Here's hoping the next one though is the one that they really, is the slam dunk the series needs. Another really surprising one for me, 112 hours, we have Black Ops 4. Are you seeing a bit of a trend here with these first person shooters? Black Ops 4, I have to say, I think it would have been the Blackout, it was called, the first of the Battle Royales that Call of Duty did. That would have been the thing that I was playing more than the multiplayer, because in all honesty I didn't really like the multiplayer that much, but I was I was all in on Battle Royale at the time in those early days. I can't even remember what the map was called, but I I do just remember having a lot of fun with my friends. I have, like, it had that thing with the Battle Royale where you're like, it's really cool because it's, you know, the gameplay immersion aspects are like entirely down to you. So you're the one that's like using tactics or sneaking about. It's not necessarily like a forced mechanic within the game. It's like you can choose how to, you know, get in the high ground or the low ground or sneaking around or attacking or hiding. All of those things I really enjoyed, and I always like an excuse to play with my friends as well. So that clearly is what ended up garnering up those 112 hours. One of my prized possessions here, this is my first ever platinum, it's Resogun with 114 hours. I do not know how it took me that long to get the platinum, but man, what a game. Housemarque just at their top form with this really simplistic but flashy at the same time side-scrolling shooter. I mean, you're just going left and right, you're dodging things, you're doing little dashes and stuff, and you're steadily upgrading your ship. It's just like one of those games you're kind of locked in with, and it's something about it clicked with me, and I just had so much fun. And like I'm saying, I'm not a huge trophy collector, or not somebody that I like the idea of platinums, but does it happen a lot? No, not really. But this game clearly was the one where I was like, no. I remember like the grind of going through this one. Not even sure what the trophy was, but I just remember playing it for a long time. Those harder difficulties are really tough. If you haven't though, PS4 GM right there, Resogun, please check it out. Another Battlefield, these really are coming in quick succession. We have Battlefield 5 with 118 hours, another somewhat controversial game within the series, but one I personally really like. I like it better than Battlefield 1. They had these mechanics where you could, you know, build up defenses and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. The destruction was nice. That it had that mania that I was looking for in a Battlefield game, and again, one that I played a lot with my brother. This one did have a battle royale mode called Firestorm. Cool execution of the you know, the circle, but everything else was pretty terrible. Yeah, that one was just not good, but not at all what took up a lot of these hours with this game. That's just the basic multiplayer. I don't even think I actually completed the campaign episodes in Battlefield 5, but the multiplayer itself, a lot of fun. This one is a real surprise because it's again one that I enjoy, I remember really liking, but I do not remember playing it for 128 hours, and that game is Assassin's Creed Unity. The Assassin's Creed Unity is going to be one of those reveals, those like gameplay demo reveals that I will remember forever, I feel. When there's that shot where you're up in the Notre Dame, you are descending it with this new fluid parkour animation system. You go down into the crowd and there's like 500 people in this crowd and you're just walking through them. Everything looked so slick and the animation was really nice, and I felt like that was the first one where they really got the idea of like, let's go in on a setting, and Paris was a really cool setting. I thought, you know, say what you will about the campaign itself, but I thought, you know, the core Assassin's Creed experience was great in Assassin's Creed Unity, and I was a huge fan of the co-op heist type things that they had going on. And Unity, had a lot of fun with those, and I'd imagine that's what's taking up so much of that time. Moving from one Ubisoft game to the next, now we have The Division. Another gameplay reveal that I will remember forever, with that little orange circle zoom out into the, you know, the destroyed streets of New York City. This was one of the early days like MMO looter shooters on console. I ate that stuff up, man. I have 146 hours in the game. Do you ever have those games where you feel like, you know, that's a lot of time to put into it, but you just still feel like you never really got into it? I'm always struggling to like find a squad to maybe go for like the end game content in a game like this. You know, people start to dwindle away. There were aspects of that, and especially when it came to the DLC with The Division, I never really got to, you know, get into a lot of that because teams started fading away. I am a very like, pick it up, I'm done, cool, moving on to the next thing type of gamer anyway, so if a new game came out, I would have just moved on to the next. But I still have some pretty fond memories. I think New York City is a cracking setting, like a really good setting, and it looks incredible as well. Obviously Massive Entertainment have gone on to create some pretty cool worlds in the future as well, like Pandora and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and they're just about to release Star Wars Outlaws, so hopefully they can do the same with that game. This is a very interesting one for me because I did not complete this game, and that game is Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, coming in at 147 hours. I played quite a lot of the game, clearly, But once there was a point in the campaign where you started essentially replaying the same missions, and I just was like, no, I don't want to do this. It feels unfinished. It felt a little weird. This was my first experience with the Metal Gear franchise, so it was a bit like, what is going on? Who is everybody? What is my Metal Gear Solid 5? That's really the question you got to ask when it's the first experience of the franchise. But I'd been really like a huge fan of Ground Zeroes, which was about the only game you could buy in PS4 at the time. At least it felt that way. And the general like third person gameplay, the stealth mechanics in that game are so good that it is so much fun, and I'm surprised that I didn't just continue to replay the missions. But I also remember channeling a little bit into the multiplayer. There was also the mother base system where you could like invade bases and stuff like that. You know, there was some cool aspects to the game, and generally I think the gameplay is what kept me going. The actual content or the story, yeah, not for me. Didn't even finish it, probably never will. You know, let's go for another Ubisoft, because why not? We have Far Cry 4 with 163 hours. You know, this is one I'm coming up a blank with, to be honest. I remember enjoying it. I remember not liking the setting in 4 as much as I did in 3, which I feel like a lot of people would probably think. There was some cool aspects like riding an elephant. I really liked the co-op, again, playing with friends. Like, you had the keys to Karat. I don't know if anyone remembers that. You could give out keys to friends so they could join you in multiplayer. There was like an actual PvP mode as well. I think I barely touched that, but 163 hours is a fair whack for a game with no platinum, when it really should not take that long to even get the platinum. You could probably do that in like 50 hours maybe. So who knows what I was doing for triple that in Far Cry 4. An absolute classic of the PS3 into PS4 generation, we have Grand Theft Auto 5 with 165 hours. I have to say, Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of those games that now I don't have the rose tinted glasses that a lot of people did with this game. I really enjoyed it. I played a lot of friends, but having gone back to it in the years since, like to tap in here or there, it's just not for me. It had its time, and I thought it was fantastic, and it's, you know, it's very admirable to see the game still getting updates all these years later. I have to say, I was always more of a Red Dead guy, which, by the way, just missed out in the 100 hours mark. It was like 94. GTA 5 campaign was solid. The world was really cool. I loved looking up the Easter eggs. I always fondly remember the No Country for Old Men Easter egg. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, the mania of the races and stuff and playing with friends is always going to be like one of those like core teenage gaming memories. But now, yeah, I have no real like urge to ever go back to that game. 165 hours, that is plenty, my friends. Oh, come on, it's been like a solid 5 entries since the last one. So now we have Battlefield Hardline, arguably one of the most underrated Battlefield games out there. The cops and robbers like premise was really cool, having like car chases on motorbikes and muscle cars and like police cars, and it still had those like destructive elements that you had in the Battlefield series. Like, you would knock down a crane and it would destroy parts of a building. It was like more of like the fun Battlefield, I think, where they just went, yeah, sure, let's do cops and robbers. And I like it when series do things like that. I think it's fun. I like the Netflix style like episodic story approach as well. I thought that was pretty cool. I'd like remember the story of Hardline more than any other Battlefield, in all honesty. Well, maybe outside of 3, but the core gaming experience was like a lot of fun. I've got 186 hours on this one, and I would really not say no to another like a Hardline 2. I would really love that. I think that would be a great, like a really exciting pick for EA. Now we're getting into like, you know, this is a stone cold classic. We have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, the first game in the list to crack 200 hours at 204. Weirdly enough, I remember buying this. It was like a bit of a risk almost, because I wasn't entirely accustomed to RPGs. I'd never played a Witcher game either, and I was more of like the kind of shooter action guy, as you can probably tell from a lot of the games on this list. So it was a little like risky like that, but I think you can always tell when a game clicks with you. When I like hear the Witcher 3 soundtrack, it gives you that warm and fuzzy nostalgic feeling, and I think that's exactly what I get with Wild Hunt. It performed abysmally on the PS4 at the time. I vividly remember playing the final boss fight in this in the story, and it was running at genuinely about a frame every couple of seconds, something like that. It was pretty terrible. but the general like moment-to-moment gameplay of like just exploring the continent, is it called? You're coming across these cities and the music's just playing away, and it has like a real nice concentration on like countryside environments, especially when you get to Skellige, which is based on Scotland as well, which, you know, I'm gonna like that. 204 hours is also going to include a bit of time with the complete edition that like released on the PS5 just like last year or something, and of course the DLCs. Now I have never completed Blood and Wine. I've done the Hearts of Stone and I started Blood and Wine, but I was going on holiday like the day after it came out. I was away for 2 weeks and I just never picked it up again. But yeah, still not played Blood and Wine all the way through, which I know is a big omission in my gaming credentials, but 204 hours on The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Next up, I have to say, it's a rather disgusting little nasty pick we've got here, and that is Call of Duty Advanced Warfare with 218 hours. What was I doing back then that warranted this amount of time in this game? If I remember right, there were zombies here with this one, and I kind of enjoyed it, but it was a bit dull by comparison to some of the others. I was personally a bit of a fan of the zippy zappy jetpack stuff, so I did enjoy that, and I'll always like a little flavouring of sci-fi weaponry. But yeah, can't remember anything about the campaign, can't remember much about maps or anything. I just remember having a general like bit of fun with the gameplay. But 218 hours, what was I doing? Next up, I have the final Battlefield entry in this list, and that is Battlefield 4 with 224 hours. I have to say, very hazy on a lot of the details about Battlefield 4. I just have a general sense of like the enjoyment I had out of it. I think there's a little bit of like mixed memories between 3 and 4, in all honesty. 3 being the one that I like really love, but that's not going to be included here in this list. 4 was a lot of fun, one of those games that you can still play to this day, which is really a testament to how popular it is and how much like people just really gelled with it. I think there's aspects in it that like you can see that have aged. Obviously it's like 10 years old now at this point. Would I say it's my favorite of the Battlefield games that I've played here? Honestly, like, I feel like, ask me in a different day, maybe it'll be this one, maybe it'll be Hardline. Like, I have a fair mixture of them, but 224 hours is a fair wee whack. Going from like back to back to back with these shooters. Next up, we've got Modern Warfare, the 2019 reboot. I do remember vividly, like, I really like this game. That is 227 hours we had on this. That's going to include Warzone. So like Black Ops 4 before it, I went really hard for Warzone, especially during the pandemic and the lockdowns. I just really clicked with the multiplayer in this. I had like a lot of fun with the kind of back to the boots on the ground simplistic approach. I liked the map designs. I liked the campaign was a lot of fun as well. And then Warzone was obviously it just felt like such a great iteration in the battle Royale formula. I got a lot of fun memories actually with Modern Warfare, which is hilarious because my appreciation for this reboot franchise went down with 2 and was completely gone with 3. So yay. Real surprise one here. I feel like you wouldn't be able to guess it, but it is Dying Light. I don't know what it is about this game that I just... No, I do know what it is about this game that I liked. I really enjoyed the first person parkour, the melee like crafting system with the weapons. I think the map itself was really cool. There was elements of co-op in there as well, and I loved the day and night cycle. I thought it was just, there was a very kind of cinematic feel to Dying Light that I always appreciate. And I like a zombie game as well, and it felt like a far better like realized zombie game than something like Dead Island, which I just don't, or at least the first game I don't think is very good. Played this one with my brother as well a fair bit, although I have to say the story is terrible. It does that thing. I have a real like hatred for like this one particular line in games and movies when they say, like the villain will say, "We're not so different, you and I." And it really like, it will immediately slash my like, you know, your reputation, my respect for a property, and that's one of the things that happened at the final climax of Dying Light. I think it was a QTA battle as well, so yeah, but I had a lot of fun. Clearly 230 hours with this one. No platinum, but yeah, just messing around in that world apparently. Then the next one is one, honestly, I feel like my reputation as a PlayStation YouTuber would not have gone down so well had this not been included. But next up we've got The Last of Us Remastered with 247 hours. I obviously am a big fan of the main campaign. I played it on the PS4 remaster maybe 6 times I think. across the years, so that's obviously going to attribute to quite a fair amount of the hours garnered up with this 247, but you know, a lot of that time has gone into the Last of Us factions. I adore the Last of Us factions. I was heartbroken when they cancelled the sequel. But yeah, this is one of the most unique multiplayer experiences out there. It managed to encapsulate the Last of Us experience perfectly and not like really change anything to mold it or bend it into a multiplayer mode. It just felt like it fit in terms of, you know, you're still scavenging, you've barely got any bullets, you're still counting bullets, you're crafting supplies and bombs and things, and you're doing it on the fly as well. Like, you could be cornered and you just whip open your backpack, make something, throw it at them, that can get you out of the situation. There was a lot of really cool things like that, and I loved the little meta game as well, where like every match was a day, and you use that to collect supplies, and the more people you had in your little base, the more supplies you needed to get. So it was one of those games you could never like just give someone a go of, because you're like, nah, there are lives on the line here, my guy. So I had a lot of fun with the Last of Us factions, and of course the base like game as well was a nice little uptick from the PS3 version. But 247 hours, it's a fair amount, especially considering like, obviously, I'm a very multiplayer focused gamer, you can tell from a lot of these entries, but the fact that we have like such a famous single player game, and then the majority of my hours are going to be in the multiplayer mode, I mean, it fits, I suppose, but it's quite funny. Next one up is recently kind of cropped its way right up that list, and that is Destiny 2, the PS5 version. I have 241 hours on the PS5 version and an additional 92 on the PS4 version. This is a game I've got to say I have like, obviously moving from teenage years to adult years, when you've got a job and you've got relationships and you want to have a social life and stuff outside of gaming, it's one of those ones that's, I've had set times when I'm going really hard for it, there's times where I've just not played it for a while. I think I've fallen into a rhythm of really checking it out when the new expansions come out, and you know, getting really into it and getting really excited and being, yeah, I'm going to play this consistently across the season, and then you just don't. But Destiny 2 has some of the best first person shooting out there. I think mixed in with its abilities, when you really get into the weeds with Destiny, when you start mixing and matching with your powers with your other teammates, and you're just jumping around and throwing grenades and using things to get your grenades back, and using all these really cool weapons that you fought quite hard to get as well, and you're wearing this awesome armor and you look cool and you feel cool. There's no other game out there that really does it that well, and as we may find out, it's one of those games that just, it reminds me of like the good old days of gaming. So I feel like a nice warmth to it whenever I boot up Destiny again, especially when I get to play with my friends. It's a hard one to get into now, I'm not gonna lie. It's a tough one to get into as a newbie. It's, as much as Bungie has tried to do some things here or there to help that, but the final shape was fantastic. It was such a great end to like the Light and Darkness saga, and yeah, Destiny 2. So we've got two more entries left, big multiplayer titles here. The first of which is Apex Legends on PS4. That's 404 hours, and I do know I've got another 100 on the PS5 version. Like I said, I'm big on Battle Royale. I really like that game, and ultimately the reason I stopped, because it could have been higher collectively on PS5 as well, because I've not played that game in a little while. I adored this game, to the point I became a little obsessive. The daily challenges and stuff, it got to the point I was playing this 1 to 2 hours every day, and it felt like I need to get up, I need to do the daily challenges. And ultimately it meant I wasn't playing a lot of other games, so I just decided like, maybe we take a wee step back from Apex. I really enjoy the game, but I didn't expect to be off of it for so long. Like I'm saying, I haven't played it in like 2 years, but I would be keen to go back to it someday. These are the people that made Titanfall. You know, the first person shooting is just phenomenal. The way that it balances the powers, and again, like I was saying with Blackout, you know, the tactics and the mechanics of the game just becoming a natural form where you are deciding how you approach the situation, how you outmaneuver enemy teams. It's such a cool premise in Battle Royale, and Apex Legends, in my opinion, is one of the best ones to do it. So the last one here, we're making quite the jump. We're going from 404 hours to 948 hours, and that game is Destiny, the original Destiny. We just had Destiny 2, now we've got Destiny 1, and like I was saying, this is a hallmark of my teenage years. As a gamer, I remember vividly being like, just eating up every bit of gameplay or every interview and any bit of information that was out there about this game. I was lapping it up. It just sounded like the coolest thing I'd ever heard of. in terms of it being like a 10-year project, which we've just seen come to like fruition really with the final shape, in terms of it having like this enormous budget. And I'm a sucker for like a sci-fi world, and I feel like this is one of the most inviting sci-fi worlds out there. Like, it's colorful and it's beautiful, and it's the music again, like The Witcher, that warms my soul playing it. And this has been, it was one of my first like truly like positive online gaming experiences, I think. There was a lot of I don't even want to say like addiction with like the early days of multiplayer. When you're talking Modern Warfare 2, there's that, that pressure you had when you were playing with friends from school, and you're like, I need to do well, I need to get up, we're on every night. It's a bit intense sometimes when you played games like that back in the day. But Destiny was the first one that felt like a multiplayer game for me that I wanted to play, and I got to play with my friends from school. Like, we're could be casual about it, but I also made new friends in the process, and I played with people there as well. I thought the gunplay was phenomenal, and I also just loved it whenever you'd been on a session in Destiny, you'd been playing all day, and you weren't quite ready for it to like finish, but the session was over, and you would just be chatting and wandering around the tower. Though that like there's a real sense of nostalgia there for me with that, and it really doesn't surprise me that this is my most played game. A little bit disappointing that it's missed out on that full 1,000 hours mark. But yeah, those are all of my most played games, all the games I have over 100 hours. I know for a lot of people this might not be like huge numbers. I know several friends that have maybe thousands of hours on a certain game. I've always just been someone that likes to move on and find something new, and like, make sure I'm experiencing as much as I can. Like I was saying, it's why I left Apex Legends at the end of the day. So that's why like these ones maybe aren't as high as like you might go, that's 948, that's pathetic. But I do want to know your most played games, including your PlayStation 5 hour tracker. Let me know down in the comments below. Give me your like top 5, your top 10. I want to see those games. I want to see those numbers. Let me know how weak these numbers are in comparison to yours. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more PlayStation video content. Anyway, until next time, I've been Aiden, and this has been Push Square.